going to bring peace or a better situation for Syria, why the United States went out and said, I don't want to do nothing with it, instead of fighting like other times side by side with the Turkish. Second, why Syria didn't go and say, instead of fighting against Syria, let's say it in a way, fighting together to finish it with ISIS and with KPP. Why? And the third one, why is, if this is against this terrorist organization, why the public opinion and everybody is talking about a fight against the Kurds? What they took it around that when you said it? Kurds, the Kurds.
Let me start with the last one. When Iraq was invaded, before Iraq was invaded, Iraq was not divided among Kurds, Sunnis, and Shias. But when a foreign force from 11,000 kilometers away came and divided the country, suddenly everybody started to look at Iraq as Kurds, Sunnis, and Shias.
Yes.
Whereas the reality was always much more complicated than that. Again, another one of those memorized, age-old prejudices that exist is that Turks are fighting Kurds and Kurds are fighting Turks. If Turks are fighting Kurds and Kurds are fighting Turks, why is Turkey at peace? 20% of our population is Turkish citizens of Kurdish origin.
Yes.
So, if we are living peacefully together, where is this fight? Someone show me where this fight is, and then I will understand. But this is a prejudice, this is Orientalism. This is trying to find easy parameters for very complicated situations that you don't understand. So what do? You say Kurdos. Well, they're not Kurdos. And Kurds in Turkey, and Kurds in Syria, and Kurds in Iraq will tell you that they don't represent Kurds in general. Because those Kurds also will reject violence and terrorism and targeting indiscriminately of civilian populations. They will reject that. They will not support that at all. So this is a memorized so-called truth that exists, that is wrong, and is a way of oversimplifying a very complicated situation. In fact, there are other terrorist organizations as well in the region. One has to understand, one has to educate. This is why I'm trying to explain all of these details. The PKK, for example, is the mother of this terrorist organization, has a base in northern Iraq, has had that for years, for many years, almost 30 years in northern Iraq. The YPG in Syria is the sister. Their military uniform badge is different, but everything else is the same. Command control structure, the recruitments, the weapons, everything else is the same. So when the United States comes and starts providing weapons to YPG, those weapons also go to the PKK. There's no way of controlling those weapons. And then ultimately, those weapons turn on Turkey. Now, in terms of fighting terrorism, we are happy to partner with anyone who will partner with us to defeat these organizations. And we have a proven track record of doing that. We were the most important member of the international coalition to combat ISIS. It is through bases in Turkey that all of these combat operations from the air were conducted against ISIS. It was Turkish troops who went into Syria to combat ISIS, shoulder to shoulder, face to face. No other NATO force has done this. We have given martyrs against ISIS. Can any other country say that? No, but it's very easy, of course, to point a finger. Now, the Syrian regime does not have a very good track record in Syria. They have used barrel bombs, they have used weapons of mass destruction against their own people. Chemical weapons were used in Syria, and even though these red lines were crossed, the United States or anybody else didn't do anything. In fact, they didn't even do sanctions, which is very interesting now that you are talking about sanctions. So where are the sanctions? But we were the ones who brought this fight to ISIS. We are the ones who brought this fight to Al-Qaeda
Exactly.
and all of these sister organizations. And at the same time, we are still blamed for undermining so-called security. There was no security in northern Syria because there were two terrorist organizations fighting each other for influence, one of which was being backed by Western powers. Now this equation has changed. Now this equation has changed, and there is a new reality being created. If there is anybody that we can talk to, we are always open for dialogue, who is going to help us stabilize the situation, we are there. If there is anybody who is just going to level criticism, we are not going to listen.